The galaxy was a place of endless stars, but also of quiet fears. There were hundreds of species, each with their own history, their own struggles, and their own laws. Yet there was one rule shared by every world and every government, the oldest and most serious law of all. It was simple. Do not disturb the humans of Terra. It was not a law enforced by a single empire. It was older than empires. It was agreed upon by every spacefaring race without argument, even those who fought each other over planets and trade routes never questioned this one thing. The humans had to remain asleep long ago before most species had even left their home worlds. Humans had ruled the stars. No one alive had seen them, yet stories about them were told in whispers. They were said to be taller, faster, and stronger than most species. They were builders of fleets larger than moons. They were also destroyers, capable of ending wars in days that could have lasted centuries. The old record said that humans were both saviors and nightmares. The last war involving humans had ended over 5,000 years ago. Nobody knew exactly what had happened. The records were damaged or sealed. What was known was this: after the war, humans had vanished from the galaxy. Not in death, but in sleep. They had gone into stasis deep beneath their home world, Terra. Some said it was punishment they gave themselves. Others said it was a promise to return only when the galaxy was ready. No one agreed on the truth. They only agreed to leave them alone. And so the rule was made. Ships were not to enter Terra's orbit. No probes, no scans. The penalty for breaking it was severe. Whole fleets had been destroyed for less. Yet the deeper reason was not fear of punishment from governments. It was fear of the humans themselves. The idea of them waking again made even the bravest captains uneasy. Far from Terra, on a crowded trade station called Helios 9, a young alien named Kiro worked as a cargo clerk. Kiro was from the small fox-like Learn species, known more for running markets than fighting wars. He spent most of his days sorting manifests, checking cargo seals, and watching ships come and go from the docking bay windows. It was dull work, but safe. Kiro liked safe one slow morning. As Kiro was checking a shipment of mining tools, the station's comms crackled. A low voice spoke in the trader's channel, "Explorer Fleet 9 reporting to command. Entered forbidden orbit of Terra. Stand by for—" The voice cut off suddenly. Kiro froze. He thought he had misheard. Terra. Forbidden orbit. Those were not words anyone spoke casually. He looked around, but no one else seemed to notice. The docking crew kept working. Cargo haulers kept moving crates. It was as if the message had only reached his terminal. That made his fur prickle. He replayed the message twice. Same words. Same sudden silence. His tail flicked nervously. Explorer fleets were careful, especially near forbidden zones. For one, to actually enter Terra's orbit was unthinkable. Something had gone wrong. He debated whether to report it to his supervisor, but he already knew what would happen. The station commander was strict and didn't like rumors. If Kiro brought her a half-cut transmission with no proof, she would accuse him of listening to channels he had no clearance for. He decided to keep quiet for now. Still, his mind wouldn't let go of the thought by midday. Rumors began to ripple through the station's traders. Someone claimed a salvage ship had gone missing near the old human world. Another said a scout patrol had picked up strange energy spikes from that sector. None of it was confirmed, but the timing matched too closely to the message Kiro had heard. That evening, after his shift ended, Kiro sat in the station's observation deck with a cup of steam fruit tea. Through the giant curved window, he could see the slow spin of Helios 9 and the deep black beyond it. Stars glittered like cold dust. Somewhere out there was Terra. Somewhere, if the rumors were true, the rule had just been broken. He remembered the stories his grandmother told him when he was young. Tales of human fleets that could move faster than light without gates, of warriors who could survive in the void for hours without suits, of leaders whose words could unite species that had been enemies for centuries. The stories always ended with the same line, "And so they slept, and the galaxy was quiet." Kiro wondered, what would happen if they woke? Would the galaxy be better, or would it burn again like in the old war? He didn't know. All he knew was that if someone had truly gone to Terra, then the old quiet might be ending. The next morning, Kiro noticed an unusual number of patrol ships, leaving Helios 9. Their markings were mixed, some from the Central Alliance fleet, some from independent systems. He overheard a docking officer whisper that they were heading toward Sector Z14, Terra's sector. His ears twitched. It wasn't just rumor anymore. Something real was happening. He thought of telling a friend on the station, but his instincts told him to stay silent. If fear was already spreading, it was better to watch and wait. Cairo wasn't a fighter or a hero. He was just a clerk who happened to overhear something important. Yet deep down, a strange feeling began to grow. A pull, as if his path might somehow lead to that forbidden world far away, on a quiet, ancient planet bathed in green forests and silver rivers. The air shifted for the first time in thousands of years. In the deep places below the surface, machines that had been silent for ages began to hum. Lights flickered in long corridors of stone and steel, and in a sealed chamber, a single figure lay in a glass capsule, surrounded by mist. A faint vibration passed through the floor of the chamber. The figure's eyes moved beneath closed lids. Somewhere above, the sound of alien voices echoed, distant but drawing closer. The capsule's systems registered the noise. It sent a soft pulse to other chambers buried deeper still. One by one, their indicators shifted from dormant blue to ready amber on Helios 9. Kiro felt a shiver run down his spine, though he didn't know why. He looked again at the stars beyond the station's hull and thought about the rule. The galaxy's oldest warning. The one no one dared to break until now. The Windspire was a small salvage ship, patched together from old war wreckage and civilian cargo haulers. It had a crew of 7, all from different worlds, all looking for a living in the scraps left behind by larger fleets. Its captain, Varn, was from the heavy-boned Gornak species. His skin was the color of dark stone, and his voice was deep enough to rattle metal panels. He was a careful leader, but life in the salvage trade often pushed careful people into dangerous places. The ship had been running a normal route along the edge of Alliance space when trouble found them. 3 pirate ships had dropped from faster-than-light jump right in front of them. The Windspire tried to turn away, but its engines were slow to respond. Varn ordered emergency thrust, but the pirates were faster. A chase began. For hours, they darted between asteroids and debris fields, trying to lose their hunters. The ship's engineer, a thin, sharp-eyed woman named Tali, worked the power systems until her hands ached. She rerouted energy from the lights to the shields, but the old generator groaned under the strain. Every time they thought they had shaken the pirates, the sensors would catch the shadow of another ship following behind. When the navigation console lit up with a warning, Varn's heavy brow furrowed. The display showed their course was drifting, dangerously close to Sector Z-14, Terra's sector. The captain cursed under his breath and changed course, but a sudden hit from a pirate's railgun shook the whole ship. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. Tali's voice came over the intercom, urgent. "Main drive's hit. We're losing thrust. If we don't land soon, we'll be drifting with no power." Varn looked at the map again. Their only chance for a safe landing was a planet directly ahead. Its name blinked on the display. Terra. The captain felt a cold weight in his chest. No one landed on Terra. No one even flew near it. But with the pirates closing and the engines failing, there was no choice. It was land or be destroyed. "Set us down," Varn ordered. "We'll find cover and make repairs. No one touches anything on the surface. We're here for survival only." The wind spire entered the planet's atmosphere. The sky was a strange shade of blue, deeper than most worlds. Vast forests stretched for miles, broken by glimmering lakes and mountains like silver teeth. The landing was rough. The ship's landing struts sank into soft soil, and one engine gave a final shudder before going silent. Outside, the air was still, the forest silent as if holding its breath. The crew stepped out cautiously. Varn, Tali, 2 security guards from the insectoid V-Char species, a pilot from the scaled Arun, and 2 junior hands from smaller trade worlds. Their boots pressed into untouched earth. The air smelled fresh, with a faint metallic tang that none of them could place. "Stay close," Varn warned. "No wandering. No scans beyond basic life check." They moved through the forest looking for resources. The silence was strange. No bird-like calls, no insect hum. Only the sound of their own steps. After some time, they reached a slope where the ground dipped into a half-collapsed metal wall, overgrown with moss and vines. The structure was massive, stretching far in both directions. Tali's curiosity got the better of her. She moved closer, brushing aside the moss. Beneath it, the metal was smooth and seamless, not like modern alloys. Symbols were faintly visible, lines, and curves in a language none of them recognized. "Leave it," Varn said firmly. "We fix the ship and go." But Tali didn't listen. She spotted a thin seam in the wall and realized it was a sealed hatch. Her hands moved over the surface until they found a faint control panel. It flickered to life as if it had been waiting. A soft hum filled the air. The rest of the crew stepped back, uneasy. The ground vibrated slightly. The hatch slid open with a slow hiss, revealing a sloping corridor that descended into the earth. Cool air flowed out, carrying the scent of metal and something older, harder to name. Against his better judgment, Varn ordered the guards to follow Tali inside. The corridor's walls glowed faintly with lines of light running along the floor and ceiling. The design was nothing like any of them had seen before. At the end of the corridor, they reached a vast circular chamber. In the center stood a large glass capsule on a raised platform. Inside it lay a figure, tall, broad-shouldered, with pale skin and short, dark hair. The body looked alive, not aged or decayed. It was as if the person inside was only sleeping. Tali stared, her voice low. "It's a human." The word sent a ripple of unease through the group. None of them had ever seen one. Few even believed the stories anymore. But there it was. Real. Right in front of them, Varn stepped forward slowly. "We close it. We walk away. Now." But as he spoke, the capsule's lights shifted from blue to green. The hum grew louder. Symbols scrolled along the base of the platform. Tali stepped forward, but Varn grabbed her arm. Too late. The glass began to slide open. A faint mist spilled out. The figure inside moved. Fingers twitched. Eyelids fluttered open, revealing gray eyes that fixed on them with sharp focus. The human sat up with unhurried strength, looking from one alien face to the next. No fear, no confusion, just quiet assessment. The human's voice was low but clear. "Who broke the rule?" No one answered at first. The guards tensed, their weapons ready but shaking. Varn took a slow breath and said, "We crashed. We didn't mean to come here." The human studied him for a moment, then looked around the chamber. His gaze lingered on the glowing symbols, then returned to them. "If I'm awake," he said, "then others will wake soon." Tali felt a chill run through her. Others? The human stood, his movements smooth and precise. He was taller than any of them expected, and the air around him felt heavier somehow. He looked at the open hatch leading back to the forest, then at the faint light filtering down from above. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. He simply said, "The quiet is over." Far above, beyond Terra's sky, old satellites stirred in, their long orbits. They began sending silent signals into the dark. Across the galaxy, deep space receivers caught faint pulses they had not heard in thousands of years. The messages spread faster than light, carrying a single truth to every listening ear. The humans were waking. The human stood in the center of the chamber, silent, watching the crew as if weighing each of them in his mind. The gray eyes were sharp but calm, and the weight of his gaze made even Varn shift uncomfortably. The hum of the capsule faded, replaced by a low vibration running through the floor. Somewhere far below, machinery that had been still for ages was coming to life. The human spoke again, his voice steady and clear. "How long?" Varn hesitated. "We don't know exactly." 5,000. "Years, maybe more." The human gave a single nod as if the answer was not unexpected. "Then the galaxy has forgotten." "What do you mean?" Tali asked. He looked at her, and there was something unreadable in his expression. "When we last walked among the stars, no one dared break this chamber's seal. Now you stand here, speaking to me. That means the fear is gone, or the desperation is great." Varn stepped forward. "We didn't mean to open it. It was an accident. Our ship was damaged. We were only looking for shelter." The human's eyes moved over the crew again. "And yet here you are, in a place where no one is meant to be. That tells me the galaxy's one rule has been broken, and not just by you." The last words made. The crew exchange uneasy glances. "Others?" one of the Vishar guards asked. The human did not answer directly. Instead, he looked at the walls, at the faint glow of symbols running along them. His hand brushed the surface lightly, and to the crew's surprise, the symbols shifted and lit brighter, responding to his touch. A low pulse of light rippled outward through the chamber. The hum beneath their feet deepened. "What's your name?" Tali asked quietly. The human turned back to them. "Marcus." He stepped down from the platform. His movements were deliberate, not rushed, yet there was an unshakable sense of control in the way he carried himself. Even without any visible weapon, there was something in him that made every member of the crew instinctively give him space. Varn kept his voice firm. "Marcus, we just need to repair our ship and leave. We don't want trouble." Marcus gave the smallest tilt of his head as if amused. "You already have trouble. I can feel the signals moving through the old network. If I'm awake, others will know. They will either come to stop me or to join me." The words sent a quiet shiver through the group. "Join you?" Tali asked. Marcus looked at her as though she should already understand. "We do not wake alone. One human's awakening stirs the rest. It may take days or weeks, but it will happen. And when it does, the galaxy will remember why it feared us." Before anyone could respond, the hum in the floor stopped abruptly. In its place came a faint mechanical sound from far above. The Vishar guards tensed and raised their rifles. Marcus glanced toward the hatch. "You've brought attention, not from my kind." They hurried out of the chamber, Marcus moving effortlessly ahead of them. His eyes seemed to notice every detail of the corridor's walls, every flicker of light. When they emerged into the open air, the forest was no longer still. A faint wind moved through the trees, and distant shapes moved between the trunks. Varn activated his wrist display. "Pirate scout drones must have followed our trail." Marcus studied the sky. "Not pirates. Something else. Your ship was chased here, yes?" Varn nodded. "Then those who chased you have already sent word. The others in orbit will want to know why your trail leads to Terra. They will come here themselves." The crew moved quickly toward the Windspire, Marcus walking with them without being asked. Tali noticed he didn't seem tired, though they had been moving fast. She also noticed that he didn't ask where the ship was. He simply seemed to know which direction to go. When they reached the landing site, the old ship sat quiet under the trees. Tali and Varn began checking the damage. Marcus walked slowly around the hull, his fingers brushing the metal. "Outdated design," he said without judgment. "You use jump drives through fixed gates?" Tali glanced at him, surprised. "Yes, how else would you—" She stopped. Marcus wasn't asking. He was confirming, "There are faster ways," he said simply, then stepped aboard without waiting for permission. Inside the Windspire, Marcus moved to the control deck. His hands hovered over the panels, then began pressing commands as though he had flown the ship before. The screens flickered, and for a moment data scrolled in strange symbols, before shifting back to the crew's language. Tali stared. "What did you just do?" Marcus didn't look at her. "Clearing the ship's trail. If you want to leave this planet without drawing every hunter in the sector, you need to move without leaving a path." "You can do that?" Varn asked. Marcus gave him a glance. I can do more than that, but right now we keep it simple. A low beeping interrupted. Them. The sensor display lit up with 3 incoming signals. Small ships, moving fast. Not pirates, not Alliance. Unknown design. The security guards muttered in their clicking language. Uneasy. Marcus studied the display, then turned to the crew. If I stay here, they will find me. If they find me, they will try to end this before it begins. That means you too will not leave this planet. Varn narrowed his eyes. And if you come with us? Marcus's reply was quiet but certain. Then you live, and the galaxy learns a new truth. Humans are no longer sleeping. There was a long silence. Tali looked at Varn. The captain looked at the crew. The choice was simple, but it didn't feel small. Finally, Varn gave a short nod. Fine. You're coming with us. Marcus stepped back from the controls. Good. Then we should move now. The crew rushed to prepare for launch, though the Windspire's left engine was still unstable. Marcus moved to the engineering bay, scanning the systems with a quick eye. He found a set of energy couplings and adjusted them without tools, using only his hands and precise force. The engine's hum smoothed, as if it had been tuned perfectly. The incoming ships were closer now. The sound of their engines faintly reached the forest floor. The Windspire's thrusters flared, lifting the ship into the air. As they broke through the tree line, Marcus watched the approaching craft on the sensors. They were triangular, with smooth hulls and no visible weapons, yet they radiated an energy signature that made even Varn Marcus said nothing. He simply touched the navigation controls, and the Windspire veered sharply away from the incoming ships. Within seconds, the unknown craft adjusted course to follow in the control deck. Cairo's name was not yet known, and his path not yet crossed with theirs. But in another corner of the galaxy, his station was already receiving the same strange pulses that had spread since Marcus awoke. The signals were growing stronger. Soon, they would be impossible to ignore. As the Windspire climbed into the higher layers of Terra's sky, Marcus looked back through the viewport. Far below, the forests stretched endlessly, hiding the buried chambers where more capsules lay waiting. He didn't smile, but in his eyes there was a spark, quiet, certain, and unshakable. The awakening had begun. On Helios 9, Kiro was sorting a shipment of spare engine parts when the comms terminal in the corner of the cargo bay lit up. It wasn't on the public channel, but a restricted one used for Alliance patrols. Kiro wasn't supposed to have access, but sometimes the station's outdated systems leaked transmissions into nearby frequencies. It was one of the small things he liked about working here. It made him feel like he was hearing secrets meant for important people. This message was short, but it froze him in place. Unidentified contact departing Terra. Recommend alert to Central Command. Possible rule breach in progress. Kiro felt his ears twitch. The words were calm, almost routine, but they confirmed what he had feared. Something had come from Terra, and if it was leaving, that meant the humans might not be sleeping anymore. Quickly shut the terminal down. Too many questions would come if someone saw what he had been listening to, but the thought stuck in his mind all day. He had heard old stories from traders, how the galaxy's governments feared the return of, humans more than any pirate armada or war fleet. The fear wasn't of their numbers, but of what they could do with only a few ships and leaders who thought in ways no one else did. By evening, rumors had spread across the station. Pilots whispered in the docking bays about strange ships spotted. In Sector Z-14, a freighter captain claimed his sensors had picked up an energy signature older than any ship in the registry. Others dismissed it as drunken talk. But the number of patrol ships leaving Helios 9 told Kiro there was truth behind it in his small quarters that night. Kiro looked out of the narrow viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, near a world no one was supposed to touch, something had changed. He didn't know why, but he felt drawn to it. He wasn't a soldier or a captain, but a voice inside told him he would see Terra with his own eyes one day. Far away, on the wind spire, Marcus stood at the control deck, scanning the space around them. The three unknown ships had followed them almost to the edge of the system before breaking off, as if testing their speed. Now the ship drifted quietly toward an uninhabited moon to make further repairs. Tali sat across from him, arms crossed. "You could tell us who they were." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. "Hunters, not pirates. Not soldiers. Hunters sent by those who fear us waking." "Fear you?" She asked, yes. His voice was calm, but it carried a weight that made the rest of the crew listen. "When we last walked among the stars, we fought wars not to destroy, but to shape. We ended battles others thought could never end. That power frightened them more than our weapons." Varn leaned against the console. "And now?" Marcus glanced at the viewport where distant stars drifted by. "Now they'll try to keep that fear buried. But the moment I woke, every signal relay buried under Terra lit up. The galaxy knows. Some will come to destroy. Some will come to join." The words hung in the air. Even the security guards said nothing. It wasn't just a warning. It was a promise of movement that could not be stopped. They spent the next hours working on the wind spire. Marcus moved through the ship as if he had been part of its crew for years. He didn't need instructions. When Tali struggled with the damaged power regulator, he took over with quick, precise adjustments that made the old machinery run smoother than before. When Varn plotted a cautious course back toward Alliance space, Marcus altered it, adding routes through asteroid fields that would hide their trail. By the time the ship was ready to move again, Varn had decided something quietly in his mind. He didn't trust Marcus completely, but he trusted him enough to keep him aboard. For now, in the meantime, Kiro's shift on Helios 9 took an unexpected turn. The station commander, a tall, silver-skinned Rithan named Corin, called an emergency meeting for all cargo and docking staff. She stood before them with a data slate in hand, her expression unreadable. "2 days ago," she began, "unidentified activity was reported near Terra. Patrol ships are investigating. I will say this only once. If you hear anything on private channels, you do not repeat it, you do not log it, you do not share it." Her eyes scanned the crowd, sharp enough to make Kiro feel she was looking directly at him. "If any of you are caught spreading rumors, you will be removed from station service without appeal." The room was silent. Everyone understood what it meant when an officer spoke like that. It meant the rumors were true later that night, as The station lights dimmed for the rest cycle. Kiro walked alone through the quiet service corridors. His thoughts turned again to the voice on that intercepted transmission. Something about the calm tone, the certainty, had stuck with him. Whoever had left Terra wasn't running. They were moving with purpose, and Cairo couldn't stop wondering what that purpose was on the wind spire. Marcus stood by the viewport in the darkened control deck, watching the stars. Tali entered quietly, holding 2 mugs of hot ration tea. She handed him one without speaking at first. They stood side by side, in silence for a while. "You could have stayed on Terra," Tali said finally. Marcus's eyes didn't leave the view outside. "I woke for a reason. The galaxy has changed while we slept, but I can still feel the same old lines. Alliances, rivalries, fears. All that's missing is someone to push them." "And that someone is you?" she asked. "No," Marcus said, softly. "It will be all of us. I am only the first." The way he said it made Tali's skin prickle. She thought about the capsules still buried under Terra's surface. If one human could feel this certain, what would happen when more like him awoke? The quiet moment ended when the proximity alarm lit up. Varn's voice came over the intercom. "Patrol cruiser inbound. Alliance markings. They're hailing us." Marcus set his tea down and stepped to the comms panel. "Put them through." The voice that came through was brisk and official. "Unregistered vessel, you are in a restricted sector. Identify yourself and state your purpose." Varn gave the standard salvage license details, but the officer cut him off. "Your course originated on Terra. You are ordered to dock with our cruiser for inspection." Marcus leaned forward, speaking calmly into the comm. "Negative. We have critical engine instability and will not risk shutdown in your dock. We will proceed on our course." There was a pause, then the officer's voice returned, colder now. "If you continue, we will consider it evasion." Marcus reached over and muted the channel. "They're not here for inspection. If we dock, we don't leave again." Varn looked at him sharply. "You sure about that?" Marcus didn't answer, with words. Instead, he altered the ship's course toward a dense asteroid cluster ahead. "If they want us, they'll have to follow where they can't use their size against us." As the wind spire slipped into the shadows of the asteroids, Marcus glanced at the crew. "This is only the first warning. The next will be louder, and by then more of us will be awake." The chamber's walls shook as the stasis pod hissed louder, and bright white vapor escaped from the seams. Rin's claws tapped nervously against the control console, and his voice trembled. "It's too fast. The temperature is dropping, faster than planned." Zara's eyes darted to the readings. The human inside was already moving. A faint thump echoed from within the pod, like a fist hitting the inner shell. "Stop the process," she said quickly. "I can't," Rin answered. "Once the pod reaches phase 3, there's no turning back." Inside the pod, the shape of a tall figure became visible. Muscles tensed, head tilted, eyes still shut. The alien engineers took small steps back, their voices hushed. "This is madness," one of the scientists whispered. "Do you even know what they are capable of?" Zara didn't respond. She knew all the stories. The humans had once been rulers of countless systems, unmatched in war and invention. But something had made them sleep, and the galaxy had agreed to keep them that way. Until now. With a metallic click, the pod's seal broke. Cold air rushed out, and the glass front rose slowly. The human took his first breath, sharp and deep, as if pulling the air straight into his soul. His eyes opened, piercing gray, scanning everything. For a long moment, no one spoke. The human simply stood there, bare feet on the cold floor, his gaze moving from one alien to the next. He did not look confused. He looked aware. "Where am I?" he asked. His voice was calm, deep, and steady. Rin stepped back, almost tripping over a cable. Zara forced herself to answer. "You are aboard a station, in neutral space. You have been in stasis for a very long time." The human's head tilted slightly and he blinked. "Stasis? How long?" Zara hesitated. "Thousands of cycles, perhaps more." The human closed his eyes briefly, then opened them again. "Why did you wake me?" No one spoke. The silence stretched, thick and heavy. The aliens exchanged nervous glances, but none dared to answer. Finally, Zara stepped forward. "Because the galaxy is in danger. Entire worlds are falling. We have enemies. Enemies we cannot stop." "And you think I can?" the human asked. Zara swallowed hard. "We have read the records. We know what your kind once did. We know no one else can fight like you." The human stepped out of the pod fully now, his movements slow but sure. He looked at the lights above, the walls, the strange faces staring at him. Then his eyes locked on Zara's. "You broke the rule," he said quietly. Rin's voice trembled. "What rule?" "The one the galaxy agreed upon," the human said. "Do not wake us." He began walking, bare feet silent on the floor. The aliens instinctively moved aside. Zara followed at his side, unsure whether she was guiding him or being pulled into his path. "Do you know why that rule existed?" he asked. Zara shook her head. "Because when we wake, things change," he said. "We are not meant for peace. We are meant for action, and action comes with a price." They entered the observation deck, and the human stopped. Through the wide glass, the endless dark of space stretched out before him, dotted with distant stars. A large warship drifted in the distance. Not theirs. "That ship?" he asked. "Who does it belong to?" "The Kraal," Zara answered. "They are one of the ones destroying our worlds." The human studied the ship, his jaw tightening. Then he turned back to Zara. "How many are awake?" She hesitated again. "Just you." The human's lips pressed into a thin line. "Then the galaxy is not ready for what comes next." Rin stepped forward, his voice shaking but firm. "We woke you to save us. Please, tell us you will help." The human looked at him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. "I will help, but not for you. I will help because there are things out there that should not win." Zara exhaled in relief, but it was short-lived. The human's next words were cold. "When I am done, you will wish I was still sleeping." The following hours were a blur of motion. The human was taken to the armory, where the aliens tried to fit him with weapons and armor. Most of it was too small or too weak for his size and strength. He finally settled on a simple chest plate and a large rifle that looked almost too heavy for anyone else to lift. "This will do," he said, testing the weapon's weight. Zara noticed something strange. The human never asked for food, water, or rest. He moved with a quiet energy, as if his body was still adjusting, but his mind was already working ahead. Later, in the briefing room, the alien officers explained the Krell threat. The enemy had taken over 7 systems in the last cycle, and their next target was only days away from the station. The human listened without interrupting. When they finished, he simply asked, "Do you have a way to board their ship without being seen?" The officers exchanged uncertain looks. One finally said, "We have stealth pods, but they are not tested for infiltration of that scale." The human stood. "Then we will test them now." Zara followed him out of the room. "You plan to attack them alone?" she asked. "I plan to see what I am dealing with," he replied. "If I am to fight, I must know my enemy." She studied him for a moment. "You're not like the stories." He glanced at her. "The stories are for those who want to believe heroes are gentle. We are not gentle." As they reached the docking bay, alarms suddenly blared. The Krell ship was moving toward the station. The human's eyes lit with something between focus and fire. "Good," he said, gripping his weapon. "They came to me." And with that, he stepped forward, ready to meet the enemy. The first human awake in thousands of years, walking into battle without hesitation. The sky over Helios Prime turned red that morning. Ships from every corner of the galaxy filled the horizon. The great fleets of the Altheri, Zorath, and Quarlians had gathered together, something no one had seen in centuries. They came for one purpose, and it was not peace. The humans were waking. In the central chamber of the high spire, Ralvek stood before a gathering of leaders. His claws tapped the table as he looked at the faces around him. Some were calm, some afraid. The tension in the air was thick. "We cannot turn back now," Ralvek said in a firm voice. "They have heard us. The humans will rise whether we wish it or not." Counselor Draven, an elder of the Quarlians, leaned forward. "You speak as if you know their minds. None of us do. The last time they walked the stars, they reshaped entire worlds. Civilizations fell under their shadow, and others thrived because of them," replied Ralvek. His voice was steady, but his heart raced. He remembered the old texts, the warnings, and the stories. The humans had been both saviors and destroyers. Their power was unmatched, but their will was unpredictable. Meanwhile, deep inside the ancient cryo facility, something stirred. The chamber that had been silent for 10,000 years now glowed faintly. Mist drifted along the floor as one of the pods released a long hiss. Inside, a figure moved slowly. Eyes that had not opened for millennia flickered with light. The human was waking. The facility's guardians, mechanical sentinels older than most civilizations, activated. Their glowing optics scanned the room. One of them turned its head toward the waking pod. In a low voice that echoed through the chamber, it spoke to the others. Protocol 1 initiated. Back in the high spire, alarms began to sound. A young officer ran into the council room. It has begun, she said, breathing hard. One of the human pods is open. The Guardian units are active. Every leader in the room froze. Even those who had pushed for awakening now felt a chill. The Guardians were legendary machines said to follow human commands without question. If the humans saw the galaxy as hostile, the Guardians would act as their shield, and their sword on the far side of the galaxy. Kira and her crew aboard the Starwind received the news as well. She sat in the captain's chair, her hands gripping the armrests. So, it's true. We've done it, she whispered. Beside her, her friend Jalen shook his head. Done it or doomed us. They set course for Helios Prime at full speed. If they could, reach the human first. Maybe they could speak before others tried to control or harm them. Kira knew the galaxy's rulers would want to shape the first human's mind. That could mean twisting history and bending the truth to make the human serve their cause in the cryochamber. The pod's glass slid open completely. The human stepped out slowly. He was tall, his movements deliberate, his eyes scanning everything with calm precision. His hair was silver, not from age, but from the long stasis. Around his neck hung a small pendant, a piece of metal shaped like a star, worn smooth over time. The Guardians moved in unison, standing at attention before him. One knelt and spoke in the same deep voice. "Commander, we await your orders." The human looked around. His voice was quiet but carried strength. "Status," he said. The Guardian began to list events from the last recorded cycle, the rise and fall of civilizations, the silence of human voices, and finally, the signal that had woken him. As he listened, his face showed no fear or surprise, only thought. When the Guardian finished, the human closed his eyes for a moment. Ralvek and the other leaders were already on their way to the chamber. They traveled in an armored transport, their escorts ready for anything. Ralvek looked out the window and saw the glow of the facility ahead. "We must speak carefully," he told the others. "The first words they hear may decide our future." But others had already arrived. A squad of Zorath soldiers entered the chamber before the council. They bowed low before the human. "Great One, we wish to serve you. The galaxy needs your strength," their leader said, his voice almost desperate. The human studied them for a long moment, then turned away without answering. He walked toward the Guardians, asking them for a map of the current galaxy. The machines projected a massive holographic starfield showing thousands of worlds and territories. The human's eyes narrowed slightly as he saw regions marked with war and suffering. When the council finally entered, the atmosphere was tense. Ralvek stepped forward first. "I am Ralvek of the Altheri Council," he said, keeping his tone respectful. "We came because we woke you. We believe the galaxy needs you once again." The human's gaze fixed on him. "You broke the rule," he said simply. His voice was not angry, but it carried weight. Everyone in the room seemed smaller in that moment. Ralvek nodded. "Yes, we did. Because the galaxy is in danger. Because we cannot survive what is coming without you." The human looked at the holographic map again. "I will decide what must be done," he said at last. "But know this, if I find your cause unjust, I will not fight for it." No one spoke after that. The humans stepped past them, the Guardians falling in behind him. He was heading for the surface. The galaxy had waited 10,000 years for this moment, but no one could predict what would follow. Allies and enemies alike were already making their moves. The awakening had begun, and nothing could stop it now. The human walked across the open field outside the cryo facility. The sky above Helios Prime shimmered with the light of hundreds of ships. Some were friendly. Some were watching with fear. The Guardians moved in formation around him, silent. But Reddy Ralvik and the other council members followed at a distance. None of them dared walk beside him without being invited. Every step the human took seemed to carry more weight than 1,000 speeches. To the galaxy, he was not just a person. He was history returned. Ships began landing near the edge of the field. Soldiers from different worlds stepped out, holding banners of their people. Some raised them high in respect. Others kept their weapons, ready, not knowing if this awakening would bring peace or war. Word of the humans' rise had spread faster than light through every communication network. Millions now watched the scene through broadcasts. Kira's ship, the Starwind, entered the atmosphere. The vessel roared as it slowed above the field and touched down. Kira stepped out with Jalen close behind. She pushed through the crowd of soldiers and delegates until she reached the Guardian's perimeter. "We need to speak to him before the others twist his mind," she told the Sentinels. They did not answer but moved aside, allowing her through. The human turned when she approached. His eyes studied her for a moment. "You came without fear," he said. Kira nodded. "Fear is easy. Truth is harder." He seemed to consider her words. "Tell me then, why did you break the rule?" Kira spoke quickly, knowing others would interrupt soon. She explained the growing danger in the outer systems, the shadow fleets gathering under the command of a warlord known only as the Black Crown. She told him how their technology outmatched every known race except the humans of old. Without human leadership, the galaxy would fall one world at a time. The human listened without expression. When she finished, he asked, "And the others? Do they speak the same truth?" Kira shook her head. "They speak the truth that serves them. They want you to fight for their power, not for peace." Before he could answer, Ralvik stepped forward. "Great One, you must understand. This is not only about one enemy, it is about restoring balance. Your kind once guided us all. We ask you to take that role again." The human's gaze swept over the crowd. "When my people walked the stars, we gave a single promise. We would not rule unless asked by all, not a few. I see now that the galaxy is divided. You ask me to lead, yet you are not united." Murmurs rose among the leaders. Some protested. Others looked at the ground. The human raised a hand, and silence fell again. His voice was calm but carried to every corner of the field. The universe had one rule. Do not wake us unless the need was greater than your divisions. You broke it. Now I will make a new rule. Gasps echoed through the crowd. The Guardians stood even straighter, their optics glowing brighter. Kira watched, her heart pounding. She did not know if this new rule would save them or seal their fate. The human stepped forward, his boots pressing into the soil of a world that had not felt human steps for 10,000 years. "I will fight the Black Crown. But when the battle is done, Every race here will meet in one place. You will speak as equals, not as rivals. If you refuse, I will leave the galaxy to its own fate." The field went silent. No leader dared speak against him. They had all heard the legends of what one human commander could do. If they lost his help now, the warlord would crush them all. Slowly, one by one, the leaders gave their nods of agreement. The human looked at Kira. "You will be my voice to them until the war is won. You will carry my words without change." She nodded. "I will." High above, the clouds shifted as something massive moved through the atmosphere. Kira looked up and saw it, a fleet unlike any other. Dark angular ships with no markings. The black-crowned scouts had arrived. Their sudden appearance broke the stillness. Soldiers scrambled to their positions. The Guardians closed ranks around the human, but he raised a hand again. "No, let them see me," he said. The enemy ships hovered, then slowly descended. One came low enough for a figure to appear on its deck. Clad in black armor, the figure's voice thundered across the field. So the old stories were true. The humans sleep, and now they wake. "Tell me, will you kneel before the black crown, or will you be broken like the rest?" The human took a single step forward. His voice did not rise, yet it carried clearly. "I kneel to no tyrant." The figure laughed. "Then your second life will end as your first did." The human's hand moved, and the Guardians reacted instantly. A beam of blue light shot into the sky, striking the lead enemy ship. Its shields flared, then collapsed. The vessel spiraled out of formation, smoking as it retreated. The rest of the Black Crown's fleet pulled back slightly, clearly surprised by the power they had just witnessed. Ralvek whispered to Draven, "This is only one human. Imagine if more wake." The human turned to the gathered leaders. "Prepare your fleets. We leave within the cycle." Kira stepped closer. "Where will we strike?" First, he looked out at the horizon where the enemy ships lingered. "At their heart," he said. "We cut the crown from the head, and the body will fall." The leaders exchanged uneasy glances, but none spoke against him. For the first time in generations, the galaxy had a single voice giving orders. Soldiers from rival worlds began to form, mixed units, training side by side. Shipyards that once built only for their own races now opened to allies. The promise of survival had forged a fragile unity. As the sun set over Helios Prime, the human stood at the edge of the field, watching the stars. Kira joined him. "Do you think they will keep your new rule when the war is over?" she asked. He did not answer right away. "If they do, the galaxy will see peace like never before. If they do not, then the next time they wake a human, they will find no help." Above them, the stars seemed brighter. Somewhere out there, the Black Crown prepared for war. But for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy had a human at its front. The old rule was broken. A new one had begun.